Hi guys, welcome back to EGN podcast. My name is Vlad. I'm your host of this show. So today we are going to talk about, I guess you have seen some clips about it. I guess, I don't know if you can call it even news. I don't know how you can call it. It's a comedy. But we'll talk about the DOGE, if you know what I mean, the DOGE Department of Government Efficiency, which is used or let's say managed by Elon Musk as of today. We'll talk about its main foundings in terms of problems that they found that can save some money to the US government. And some of these things are really, funny, right? Right away funny, and you will see why. And without further ado, we are going to do that. And I will have the help of my AI here, Perplexity AI. It's using the OpenAI language, large language model. And so we're going to ask questions to this AI to help us out to understand that, where is the money going? There is a saying, follow the money. If you follow the money, you will know what's happening, where everything is going, and what are the reasons behind it. So let's get right into it. If you get value out of this video, like, subscribe, and share, so other people can understand where is the money going in US. So, my friend there, how you doing today? This is my friend.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm here with my friends that are listening, and we are talking about DOGE, managed by Chief Elon Musk, and we want to understand more about the expenses that DOGE has discovered about the US expenses, the government expenses. So I would like you to go together and first to explain what is DOGE. Let's get into it.
It seems you're referring to Elon Musk's involvement with government efficiency and some revelations about U.S. government expenses.
Yes.
As of fiscal year 2025, the U.S. federal budget outlines significant spending, with total federal outlays projected at $7 trillion, which is about 23.3% of GDP. This includes discretionary spending for defense and non-defense programs, as well as mandatory spending for programs like Social Security and Medicare. Elon Musk has been a vocal critic of certain government expenditures and inefficiencies. In late 2024, he opposed a bipartisan continuing resolution that included various budget provisions, citing wasteful spending. His opposition was influential, leading to the defeat of that bill.
Exactly. And today, I would like you to point out some of the outrageous expenses.
The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, informally led by Elon Musk under the Trump administration, has been tasked with cutting federal spending and modernizing government operations.
Correct.
DOGE claims to have identified $55 billion in savings through actions such as terminating over 1,000 federal contracts, fraud detection, asset sales, grant cancellations, workforce reductions, and regulatory changes. However, these figures are difficult to verify, as only a portion of the terminated contracts and cuts have been disclosed. For example, an $8 billion contract for equal employment opportunity services was later revised to $8 million, raising questions about the accuracy of DOGE's reported savings.
I get it, but let's go into it and to learn a little bit more exactly, what are the wasted monies. So there is a situation with pennies, right? Penny, the penny production?
One of the notable examples of government waste recently highlighted involves the cost of producing pennies.
Pennies.
The U.S. Mint spends more to manufacture pennies than their actual monetary value, with each penny costing about 2.1 cents to produce. This inefficiency has been a long-standing issue, as the production of pennies results in a net loss for taxpayers annually. Critics argue that discontinuing the penny could save millions of dollars, though efforts to eliminate it have faced resistance due to tradition and concerns about rounding prices. Additionally, broader examples of waste include projects funded by USAID, such as $1.5 million to promote diversity and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and $70,000 for a DEI
Serbia?
musical in Ireland. Other controversial
Ireland?
expenditures involve funding electric vehicles in Vietnam and even projects linked to questionable organizations overseas. These examples underscore the ongoing debate about prioritizing government spending and eliminating inefficiencies.
Let's just come back to UAID. You said they spent money in Serbia, Vietnam. Which countries and for which reasons they spend money? I'm shocked.
The U.S.
Strange.
government, through USAID, allocates funds to various countries for development, humanitarian, and strategic purposes.
Okay.
In Serbia, USAID has invested about $1 billion since 2001, focusing on economic development, empowering small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, improving judicial efficiency, healthcare, and environmental protection. Specific projects include supporting digital literacy and providing over $9 million in COVID-19 aid. However, some expenditures like $1.5 million to promote diversity in Serbian workplaces have been criticized as wasteful. In Vietnam, USAID's...
Before we go to Vietnam, so in Serbia, how was the $1.5 million used or was supposed to be used to promote DEI? Can you explain?
The $1.5 million allocated by USAID to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, in Serbia was granted to a Serbian organization called Grupa Izađi. The funding was distributed over 3 installments from February 2023 to October 2024. The program aimed to improve workplace inclusion for marginalized groups, particularly LGBTQ individuals, in Serbia's business communities. This initiative included workshops, advocacy efforts, and campaigns to foster a more inclusive work environment, as well as to support broader economic growth and democratic development in the country. While the program's supporters argue it aligns with USAID's goals of fostering inclusive development, critics have labeled it as wasteful spending, sparking broader debates about the priorities of U.S. foreign aid.
Okay, so I'm shocked. To be honest, okay, let's come back to USAID. I know we're talking about DOGE, but I mean this is part of it. USAID, what's their main goal in life with the government? What's their main goal? Tell me, please. Because this is nonsense.
The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, is the U.S. government's primary agency for international development and humanitarian assistance. Its main goal is to promote global progress while advancing U.S. foreign policy interests. USAID focuses on alleviating poverty, providing disaster relief, fostering economic growth, and supporting democratic governance in over 100 countries. It also addresses global challenges like disease control, environmental sustainability, and food security. USAID's mission includes strengthening U.S. alliances, creating trade opportunities for American businesses, and fostering stability in developing nations.
So creating workshops in Serbia for DEI, for LGBT and all that. So basically, in other words, they give $1.5 million to one organization to organize some meetings to talk about those things, and that's about it.
Yes, the $1.5 million grant to Grupa Izađi in Serbia was indeed intended to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, in workplaces and business communities. The funds were aimed at fostering an environment that increases employment opportunities for LGBTQ individuals, supports LGBTQ entrepreneurs, and reduces workplace discrimination. This included organizing workshops, advocacy campaigns, and training programs to address systemic barriers faced by LGBTQ people in Serbia. Critics have argued that such initiatives might not justify the expense.
So how are like the money? How is it supposed to make those things, make people more open to those ideas? Like how the money is supposed to make people more inclusive, more all that. Like the Serbian people, they don't have
The idea behind
the
funding
initiative to
initiatives
do
like the
that,
one in Serbia is to create awareness, foster
to create
understanding, and reduce
awareness.
prejudice through
Uh-huh.
education and engagement. The workshops, training sessions,
Through workshops, training sessions, education, and they want to promote it, right? So they send money to promote some types of ideology in other countries. Is that correct? He's thinking.
yes, that is correct.
Wow,
USAID often allocates
honest.
funds to promote certain values or ideologies, such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, in other countries.
I'm shocked.
For example, the $1.5 million grant to Grupa Izaji in Serbia
Yep, we
was
got
aimed at
it.
fostering work.
Can you please tell me what is the basis to send those types of amounts? What is the basis to send those types of amounts to Serbia? Meaning, what's the percentage of people who care about DEI and the LGBT and all that? Like, what's the percentage in Serbia?
In Serbia, public opinion on LGBTQ and DEI related issues is mixed, with significant divisions across the population.
Mm.
For example, a 2017 poll found that 59% of Serbians agreed that gay, lesbian, and bisexual people should enjoy the same rights as straight people, while 24% disagreed. Similarly, 64% believed LGBTQ individuals should be protected from workplace discrimination. However, societal acceptance
Okay, but
remains limited in other areas. 62% of Serbians said they would not want homosexuals as neighbors in a 20.
okay, no, I get that part, but how is the money is going to change the mindset of people? So basically, they are sending money to a group to do promotions because those workplace workshops, activities, it's to promote those ideas. So to do marketing in order to accept those ideas. Am I correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. The funding
Okay.
is essentially used to promote and market these ideas through workshops, training sessions, advocacy.
So let's continue. So how about Vietnam? Like what happened with Vietnam about the USAD?
USAID's work in Vietnam has focused on a wide range of initiatives aimed at addressing historical, social, and environmental challenges while fostering economic growth and strengthening U.S.-Vietnam relations. One major area has been addressing the legacy of Agent Orange, a chemical used during the Vietnam War that caused severe health and environmental damage. For example, USAID has invested millions in cleaning up contaminated sites like Bien Hoa Air Base and providing support to individuals affected by Agent
Okay.
Orange, including
Agent
loans,
Orange?
training programs, and
Okay.
rehabilitation services. Additionally, USAID has worked on disability programs,
Okay,
such as providing
that's good. That's
comprehensive
good. Helping
care
people.
and treatment for people with disabilities in.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, let's come back to Dodge. Okay, so let's come back to Dodge. So, what else Dodge has found out that is a waste of money that they are planning to cut?
The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, has identified several examples of what it considers wasteful spending in U.S. government programs, particularly through USAID. Some highlighted expenditures include $20 million for a Sesame Street program in Iraq, $9 million intended for Syrian civilians that ended up with violent groups, $69,000 for dance classes in Wuhan, China, and $6 million supposedly spent on tourism in Egypt. Other controversial items include $70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland and $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. DOGE has also flagged broader inefficiencies,
Oh my
such as
god.
funds allocated to irrigation projects in Afghanistan that inadvertently supported poppy farming and millions spent on EcoHealth Alliance projects linked to bat virus research. While some of these expenditures are criticized as frivolous or mismanaged, others are defended
Mismanaged.
as part of broader development goals that align with U.S. foreign policy interests. The Trump administration has frozen USAID funding and placed staff on administrative leave to reassess
That's
priorities
good.
and eliminate what it sees as unnecessary spending. Critics argue that while some examples of waste exist, these cuts disrupt essential programs addressing global health, humanitarian crises, and economic development.
Uh, I don't know where to start. Okay, I'm just gonna see what you just said. So USAID sent $20 million. Let's come back. Sent $20 million to Sesame Street program in Iraq. What is that? What is the Sesame Street program in Iraq? Like Sesame Open or what is that?
The Sesame Street program in Iraq,
Sesame. My
officially called
apologies.
Alan Simsim Iraq, is a USAID-funded initiative in partnership with Sesame Workshop. The
Okay.
project received $20 million to adapt the successful Alan Simsim series for Iraqi children. The show, which began in 2021 and is set to run until 2027, aims to promote inclusion, mutual respect,
Oh my.
and understanding among Iraq's diverse ethnic and religious groups. It also focuses on teaching children foundational skills like collaboration, peacefulness, and public health
That's not
practices,
bad.
such as hand washing, in a region
Oh.
recovering from conflict. Supporters of the program argue that it uses soft power to counter extremism by fostering values of tolerance and cooperation among young Iraqis, who make up a
Soft
significant portion
power.
of the population. Critics, however, see it as an example of wasteful spending, questioning whether such initiatives justify their cost or achieve meaningful results in addressing deeper societal challenges.
So you are telling me that that's basically US said, hey, you know what? Take this 20 million, do some TV shows in Iraq, make it soft, make it open, so maybe we can calm those people there. You know, that Middle Eastern Habibi, calm down, look at this video and relax. Like, I mean, there is nothing bad to promote. I'm from Middle East too, by the way, so don't get it twisted. So it's to promote, to make people more calm, but
The $20 million allocated by USAID for the Alan Simsim Iraq program was not solely for producing a children's television show. Instead, it was part of a broader initiative aimed at promoting social inclusion, mutual respect, and early childhood education in Iraq and neighboring countries like Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. The program uses the familiar Sesame Street format to teach children values such as cooperation, peacefulness, and public health practices. It also includes direct services like educational support for children and caregivers in conflict-affected areas through partnerships with organizations like Save the Children and Mercy Corps. The rationale behind this funding is to use soft power to counter radicalization and extremism by fostering tolerance and understanding among Iraq's youth, who make up a significant portion of the population. Critics argue that spending taxpayer money on such projects abroad could be wasteful or ineffective, while supporters see it as a strategic investment in long-term stability and U.S. foreign policy goals.
I agree that it's not a bad idea because in some sense it's wait a second. In some sense it's like soft propaganda, but it's for good cause. It's to, promote some good values. I understand that part. But 20 million to do a show, I mean, it's not bad, but it can be done better. I don't know. It shouldn't cost 20 million to do a show that will last for 3 years. I mean, I'm sure that can be done under a million, even under 500,000. But you be the judge. So let's continue. You said also that there was 9 million intended for Syrian civilians that ended up with violent groups. What do you mean?
The $20 million allocated to the Ahlan Simsim initiative in Iraq and other MENA countries is indeed a significant investment, but it extends far beyond just producing a children's TV show. The
Yes.
program integrates educational media.
No, that part I got it. You said before that there is a $9 million that intended for Syrian civilians that ended up with violent groups. What do you mean?
The $9 million intended for Syrian civilians that ended up with violent groups involved a case where Mahmoud al-Hafyan, a Syrian national, was
Hafyan?
charged with diverting U.S.-funded humanitarian aid to terrorist organizations like the Al-Nusra Front, ANF, which is affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Al-Hafyan, who led an NGO managing humanitarian aid in Syria, allegedly falsified records and inflated the number of food kits distributed to war-affected families. Instead of reaching civilians in need, these kits were sold on the black market, and the proceeds were funneled to ANF
Kids,
commanders.
not kids. Okay.
The funds were initially meant to provide food and medical supplies to Syrian civilians suffering from the ongoing conflict. However, Al-Hafyan reportedly forced NGO employees to comply with his fraudulent activities and even threatened those who refused. This case highlights the challenges of ensuring that humanitarian aid reaches its intended recipients in regions plagued by instability and corruption.
So if I understand well, US sent $9 million to a Syrian NGO that was supposed to help children with food kits, but the main person there basically frauded or scammed the government and sent that money to terrorists.
Yes, that's correct. The U.S. allocated $9 million in humanitarian aid to a Syrian NGO, managed by Mahmoud al-Hafyan, to provide food kits for civilians affected by the ongoing conflict in Syria.
That money went to whom exactly?
The $9 million in humanitarian aid that ended up with violent groups in Syria was initially sent to a Syrian NGO, managed by Mahmoud al-Hafyan, also known as Abu Abdul al-Hamsi. This NGO was awarded funding through USAID to distribute food kits and medical supplies to war-affected civilians, particularly refugees and displaced individuals in Syrian villages like Bwaiti, Lof, Mazrat Shuk, and Salamin. Instead of fulfilling its mission, Al-Hafyan and his co-conspirators diverted the food kits to commanders of the Al-Nusra Front, ANF, a terrorist organization affiliated with Al-Qaeda. They sold these kits on the black market for personal profit and to support ANF's operations. To cover their tracks, they falsified beneficiary logs and inflated the number of kits supposedly.
So basically, US sent money to Syria, and they got frauded, and those amounts went to terrorists. Correct?
Yes, the U.S. government, through USAID, sent $9 million in humanitarian aid to a Syrian NGO led by Mahmoud al-Hafyan.
Okay, let's continue, because this is epic. Okay, you said $69,000, taxpayer dollars. Okay, this is not their money. This is taxpayers' money. 69,000 went to.
Yes, that's correct.
Let's try again. So 69,000. I will just come back here because this is epic. Oh no. So 69,000 went to dance classes in Wuhan, China. Can you explain to me that, please?
There is no verified information in the provided search results indicating that 69,000 people attended dance classes in Wuhan, China.
I'm not saying 69,000
dance
people.
Education and
I'm saying that DOGE found out that there is $69,000 that USAID has sent to Wuhan, China for dance classes. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct that $69,000 was reportedly spent by USAID on dance classes in Wuhan, China.
This is comedy.
This information was highlighted by Senator Joni Ernst as an example of what she considered wasteful foreign aid spending.
Okay, but can you tell me why they sent those amounts?
The $69,000 sent by USAID to Wuhan, China for dance classes was reportedly part of broader cultural and community engagement programs. These types of initiatives are often intended to foster goodwill, build relationships, and promote cultural exchange in regions where the U.S. seeks to maintain influence or counteract other
Okay,
geopolitical powers.
with
However,
dances.
this specific expenditure has been criticized as an example of misallocated funds by some U.S. lawmakers.
I got it, but so which type of dances and what was
Could you
this?
clarify your question? I'd
Yes,
be happy to help further.
which type of dances those amounts went to?
The specific type of dances funded by the $69,000 USAID grant in Wuhan, China, is not
Yeah.
explicitly detailed in the available information.
Okay,
However, USAID often supports cultural and community engagement programs, which can include various forms of dance such as traditional.
no, it's fine. But why Wuhan? Like, why not other?
Sure, let me know how I can assist further.
Yeah, I'm telling you why Wuhan specifically received the 69,000.
The $69,000 sent by USAID to Wuhan, China, for dance classes appears to have been part of broader cultural and community engagement initiatives. While specific motivations for choosing Wuhan are not explicitly detailed in the available information, USAID has historically funded programs in China to foster goodwill and maintain cooperative relationships, particularly in areas like public health and cultural exchange. These
Okay.
efforts often aim to build soft power and facilitate collaboration in regions of
We get it. You know what? I'm gonna just put this one here. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. So, except China part, you said that there is $6 million that the USAID spent on tourism in Egypt. Correct?
Yes, the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, allocated $6 million to support tourism in Egypt. This funding was part of broader efforts to promote cultural heritage and tourism
It's
development,
all about
including
cultural
projects like
heritage.
restoring historical sites and improving access to them, such as the Medinat Habu Temple Complex in Luxor.
Okay. But why is US doing it? Like, why not the government of Egypt?
The United States, through USAID, invests in Egypt's tourism sector as part of a broader strategy to promote economic stability, cultural preservation, and bilateral
I guess.
cooperation. Tourism is a critical component of Egypt's economy, historically contributing about 13% of its GDP and supporting significant employment. However, political instability and economic challenges have strained the sector in recent years. USAID's involvement helps restore key archaeological sites and enhance tourism infrastructure, ensuring the sector remains a viable economic driver while creating jobs and training opportunities for local communities. While Egypt's government also invests heavily in tourism, such as its
Mhm.
EGP 50 billion initiative to boost hotel infrastructure, international partnerships like USAID's provide additional expertise,
So,
funding,
okay.
and resources that complement domestic efforts. These collaborations help.
Well, I mean, I can agree that, 6 million to promote the economy of another country is very generous, not bad. But I'm not sure how it's helping the world, US, I don't know. But let's continue, okay? Let's not stop there because there is more. How about 70,000 that was sent to Ireland by USAID for DEI musical? Tell me that. How about that? What is that? musical.
The $70,884 grant allocated by USAID for a DEI musical in Ireland was part of a broader initiative to promote shared values between the US and Ireland, specifically diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. The funding was awarded in 2022 to Sailorad Company Limited by Guarantee, based in County Kerry, Ireland. This company organized the event in collaboration with Other Voices, a cultural organization known for its live music events. The purpose of this musical was to foster cultural diplomacy and strengthen ties between the two nations
Cultural
by
diplomacy.
highlighting shared
Interesting.
social values. The funding came from U.S. State Department programs focused on public diplomacy, which aim to advance U.S. foreign policy interests and improve relations with foreign publics. However, this expenditure has sparked significant criticism in the U.S., with
For
some
sure.
viewing it as an example of wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars on initiatives perceived as unnecessary or misaligned with core priorities.
Well, I understand them. That criticism is pretty valid, I would say. But let's not stop there. What about Peru? What type of comic book did USAID and what amounts did USAID give to Peru?
The claim that USAID provided $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru has been widely misrepresented. In reality, the funding did not come from USAID, but from the U.S. Embassy in Peru, which commissioned a comic book series titled The Power of Education
It's still
to
US.
promote education and cultural exchange programs. The second issue of the series featured a gay character, not a transgender one, as part of an effort to address anti-gay prejudice in Peru.
We got that point. So let's continue. You said also that DOGE has flagged broader inefficiencies such as funds allocated to irrigation projects in Afghanistan. Tell me about that.
USAID has faced criticism for inefficiencies in its irrigation projects in Afghanistan, such as the Strengthening Watershed and Irrigation Management (SWIM) initiative. The SWIM project, which ran from 2016 to 2021 with a budget of $57 million, aimed to rehabilitate irrigation infrastructure, improve water management, and boost agricultural productivity in northern Afghanistan.
Okay.
While the project reported accomplishments like training farmers and rehabilitating irrigation systems, broader audits have flagged that many USAID-funded projects in Afghanistan were not used as intended or failed to achieve sustainable outcomes. For example, USAID's drip irrigation demonstration project was found to have several demonstration plots that were either abandoned or not functioning properly. These inefficiencies have raised concerns about oversight and the long-term impact of such investments.
But those amounts have stopped in 2021, I'm guessing after the withdrawal of US, correct?
No, U.S. aid to Afghanistan, including USAID funding, did not completely stop after the U.S. military withdrawal in August 2021. While USAID personnel left the country by the end of August 2021, the U.S. has remained Afghanistan's largest donor of humanitarian assistance since then.
No, I understand.
Between the Taliban's takeover and early 2025, the U.S. provided nearly $4 billion in aid to Afghanistan, primarily through United Nations agencies and international organizations, to address humanitarian needs like food security, healthcare, and education. However, these funds are distributed with safeguards to prevent the Taliban from accessing them directly. The withdrawal did mark the end of many USAID-led development projects on the ground, but humanitarian support has continued to mitigate the severe economic and social crises in Afghanistan under Taliban rule.
And how are they making sure that those amount of 4 billion went to the people? Can you explain the process about that? How it works?
The U.S. ensures that the nearly $4 billion in humanitarian aid sent to Afghanistan since 2021 is directed to the Afghan people through a carefully managed process involving
Carefully
international
managed.
organizations and strict oversight mechanisms.
Strict.
The funds are primarily distributed via United Nations agencies and international NGOs, which operate independently of the Taliban.
Okay.
These organizations handle cash shipments and procure food, medical supplies, and other essentials, ensuring they reach vulnerable populations directly. To minimize Taliban interference, the aid is often delivered in the form of goods or services rather
Okay.
than cash transfers to local entities.
Of course.
For instance, food assistance is provided through direct distribution or vouchers, and medical supplies are allocated to health facilities managed by international partners. Additionally, the UN coordinates these efforts under its humanitarian response framework, which includes monitoring mechanisms to track aid delivery and ensure transparency. Despite these safeguards, some challenges persist.
Of course.
The
We just read
Taliban has
about it
reportedly siphoned
in
off portions of aid
Iraq.
by controlling access to certain areas or imposing taxes on operations. However, international actors continue to refine their strategies to limit such
For sure. Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. And just before we move on, you said also there is an EcoHealth Alliance project linked to bat virus research. And I'm guessing it's also in Afghanistan?
There is no evidence that EcoHealth Alliance conducted bat virus research specifically in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Most of their work has focused on regions identified as hotspots for zoonotic diseases, such as Southeast Asia and China. For
Okay.
example, EcoHealth Alliance collaborated with the Wuhan Institute of Virology to study bat
Oh la
coronaviruses
la.
in China, including SARS-like viruses, to understand their potential to infect humans. In Western Asia,
This is another
including
topic.
Afghanistan,
Full on our
there
topic.
are initiatives like the Western Asia Bat Research Network, the WABNet, aimed at studying bat-associated viruses and zoonotic disease risks.
Off topic, USAID has given amounts to Wuhan, China for those viruses, bat virus researches.
Yes, USAID was involved in funding virus research projects that included collaborations with the Wuhan Institute of Virology,
Interesting
WIV,
one.
through broader initiatives like the PREDICT program. PREDICT, launched in 2009, aimed to identify and monitor pathogens with pandemic potential by collecting virus samples from wildlife and studying their risks of spillover into human populations. USAID allocated at least $210 million to PREDICT over its lifespan. And EcoHealth Alliance, a key partner in the program, worked with WIV on bat coronavirus research. This collaboration involved collecting and analyzing virus samples.
Okay, was it during 2020, before 2020, or after 2020? Just curious.
The USAID-funded PREDICT program, which included collaborations with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, WIV, operated from 2009 to 2019.
We're gonna redo
the program's funding
this
ended
question.
on September 30th.
Okay. We're going to redo this question because it's very interesting. Can you please answer me again about the Wuhan program and was it in 2020?
The USAID-funded PREDICT.
We're going to do that again, technical problems. So, can you tell me about the Wuhan, China, USAID amounts given in 2020 or before or after? Was it before 2020 or after 2020?
Could you clarify what you're referring to? Are you asking about a specific event or piece of information?
Yes. So we are talking about USAID, and I just wanted to clarify, did USAID give funding to Wuhan for any virus regarding bats before 2020 or after 2020?
USAID provided funding to projects involving the Wuhan Institute of Virology, WIV, before 2020.
Okay,
Specifically, USAID backed the PREDICT project, which operated from 2009 to 2019.
that's great. So that's just what I wanted to know. Let's continue with DOGE and Mr. Elon Musk and their department. So we said that the bot research, okay, it's good. What else? What else did they do that is interesting? So can you tell me what other unnecessary spending the DOGE department has found out about USAID and others? Please name me a few of them.
The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, has uncovered numerous examples of what it considers unnecessary and wasteful
And some
spending
of them we
by
already saw.
USAID.
Okay.
These include funding projects such as $1.5 million to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia, $6 million to support tourism in Egypt, and $2 million for sex change surgeries and LGBT activism in Guatemala. Other expenditures highlighted include $70,000 for a diversity-themed musical in Ireland,
Yes, I remember that.
$47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, and hundreds of millions directed toward irrigation projects in Afghanistan that inadvertently supported poppy cultivation benefiting the Taliban. Additionally, USAID has been criticized for providing millions to EcoHealth Alliance, which was linked to controversial research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. There were also reports of aid shipments intercepted by al-Qaeda fighters in Syria and funding for contraceptive programs that some argue diverted resources from more critical medical care. These findings have led to increased scrutiny and calls for reform, or even the dissolution of USAID due to its financial mismanagement and lack of oversight.
I mean, okay, and before we finish about this topic, because I'm sure there are many, many others that we'll find out in the coming months, years. He's here, Mr. Trump is here for another 4 years. Can you tell me the story of, I think it's the General Secretary advisor who wanted to meet Joe Biden because he had a concern, and it took him a few weeks before he met him. And when he met him, he asked him about an order that he signed, and tell me what Joe Biden said.
The story you're referring to seems unclear in the provided context. However, there have been instances of delayed meetings between advisors and leaders due to concerns or pressing matters.
Okay.
For example, during transitions or critical moments, national security advisors or officials often seek meetings to...
Okay, who is the security, like the second person or the third person after the vice president?
After the vice president, the second person in the U.S. presidential line of succession is the Speaker of the House, followed by the President pro tempore of the Senate as the third in line.
Okay, and let's say if the president is not there anymore, the vice president is not there anymore, who will be the next in line? So I just want to remember his name.
If both the president and vice president are unable to serve, the next in line for the presidency is the Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House.
If the Speaker is also unable to serve...
And who is the Speaker of the House during the Biden administration? Or who was?
During the Biden administration, Nancy Pelosi served as Speaker of the House until January 3rd, 2023. Okay. After her tenure, Kevin McCarthy briefly held the position before being removed in October 2023. Mike Johnson, a Republican from Louisiana, then became Speaker on October 25th, 2023, and was re-elected in January 2025.
Mike Johnson. Okay, can you tell me when Mike Johnson went and wanted to meet Biden, but he wasn't able to meet him for a few weeks, and then he finally met him? Can you tell me that story?
In early 2024, House Speaker Mike Johnson repeatedly sought a one-on-one meeting with President Joe Biden to discuss issues such as border security and foreign aid, including funding for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Johnson began requesting the meeting on January 22nd, following a group meeting with congressional leaders on January 17th.
Okay.
Despite making multiple subsequent requests, the White House consistently declined his appeals, arguing that Johnson was already presented with bipartisan solutions and that there was nothing to negotiate further. Johnson expressed frustration over the delays, stating that it was problematic for the Speaker of the House to be unable to meet directly with the President
The
on
leader
critical
of the
national
country.
security matters. The White House maintained its position, emphasizing that Johnson's shifting stances and rejection of Senate-passed legislation made direct talks unproductive. Ultimately, this lack of communication underscored tensions between the two leaders during a period of significant political and
You got
legislative
that?
challenges.
Okay, well, thank you for explaining me that. I will explain the rest myself. Thank you, AI. So the story is that Mike Johnson was trying to get a meeting with the President Biden, and you will understand the point I'm coming with. He wasn't able to get a discussion with the president. So this is the third person in line: the president, vice president, and then it's this person. So if the president is out, vice president is out, this is the person who takes care of the country in US. So he was trying to get a meeting with Biden, Mr. Biden, Joe Biden. He wasn't able. He's like, hey, can I meet him? This is important. Like, this is security issues. Well, he's busy now. He's doing this. And by the way, don't quote me, but if you do a little research, you can see how many days Mr. Biden was on vacation during his presidency. That's just a fact. It's not critique, it's just a fact. Many days. So he was trying. They said, oh, he cannot now. And after 3 weeks, he finally accepted. He went to the meeting. Joe Biden is there. However, he's not alone. There is Kamala Harris. There is other Democratic, politicians. They're all sitting. And for a moment, well, Mike Johnson, he wanted to have some time with Joe Biden to talk about, one-on-one. So Biden said, hey, can you please leave? Everybody, I'm just going to talk with him. So they left. He spoke with him. And before they discussed the main issue that Mike Johnson wanted to discuss with him, he asked him, hey, Mr. President, why did you sign this order? I don't remember exactly what was the order, but it was something not beneficial for U.S. economy. It was like, hey, let's give an example. You signed this to, stop the export of this, but this is bringing us $100 million a year. Why did you sign it, sir? And he's like, what? I didn't sign it. It was just a scientific research that they asked me to see. And I gave my okay. And it's like, no, sir, you signed it. And now it stopped. So now we have less income from that sphere. Oh, yeah? Yeah. So now, for sure, maybe this is not Biden who is signing the USAID checks. But if the president of the country was not aware of what he's doing, who is signing, who is giving him advice, and what are the documents that he's signing, now imagine the accountability or the level or the lack of the accountability in the other departments, which bring to these types of consequences of what we went through in this episode, right, with the discussion with the AI. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Does it make sense? For some reasons, I agree. It makes sense to help those countries for sure. I mean, you gotta have common sense as country, specifically if we are talking about taxpayers' money. They didn't vote for that, to help some country with dances, musicals, some programs, diversity, to market some ideologies or TV shows. Can it be done better? I'm pretty sure yes. And hopefully we'll see how it's going to be done in US with the new department that was created. But yeah, so if you like and you got value out of this content, if it was even a little bit funny, I'm sure there's many more, and a lot of people have done other videos touching other points. So if you like this type of content, please like, subscribe, and share. If you want to use yourself the Perplexity Pro version, it gives you access to, let's say, more perks. You can use my code in the bio below. It gives you a discount for 1 month, like $10, if I'm not mistaken. So use it if you want. And share this video with people who want to learn a little bit more about DOGE, about what are they doing, and the mismanagement of that department of USAID and the US government, the previous departments, let's say, or administrations. And yeah, so thank you for listening. I will see you in the next videos, which will be in the same lanes. So thank you for listening, and see you in the next video.